Alright guys, so in this tutorial we are going to be doing marker clusters. So we're going to be clustering markers so that when they collide, they create a very nice interface that counts the number of markers in a specific area. Alright, so what I did to have all these markers is in our previous video, we used the ChatGPT to generate a code that is going to help us to get the coordinates. So I ran the code again and it brought all of these coordinates and boom. It's very nice, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to use these coordinates. So let's look at the coordinates in the database. So all these coordinates came from the database that we just created. So let's go to a database tutorial. And we have only one table called locations, and the locations have all of our latitudes and longitudes. And what I did was I just ran in the last tutorial we deleted all the latitudes and the longitudes from the database, but in this tutorial we just ran it back. We brought out all of it. We didn't change anything. We brought everything. And so in this tutorial we're just going to do marker clustering. So let's go back to our code. So in the last tutorial we have our get coordinates. We have our connection, we have our markers array. We select the data, we select the longitude and the latitude from the locations table. We use the while loop. We get each record, we push it into the each record. Once we get a while loop, we create a variable, we call it each coordinate, an array of an associative array. We get a latitude and a longitude. Once we store the array into the record, we push it into the markers array. All right, after that we encode it into JSON object and then we echo it out. And once we echo it out, we collect it with the markers JavaScript, with the map.javascript file. We use the Axios. You can use the Ajax. It works fine. We use the Axios backend get coordinates.php, which is this. And then we just get the data in the response.data. We push all the data into array markers. We use the for loop. We loop through the array markers that we just pushed. So we created two markers. One is array, one is all markers. We use the for loop to loop through the array markers. We get each data. We look through each data to get the latitude and the longitude, and then we create the content. We push it into all mark. All right, nice. So once we push it into all mark, that's what we do for all of them. Then we get our all mark. The next thing we do is we create a constant. We call it markers. We create our all mark.map. So all mark that we pushed, all the coordinates that we pushed into the all markers, we get it. We use that .map to map it. It's like for loops, like the loops, but this one it works pretty fine with maps. So we get a coordinates lat and the long, and the lat is position.lat. The position is this, position.lat, position.long, position.content, position.title. So the position.lat is this lat, position.long is this long, the position object, all the data in the all mark. So this is the all mark. All the data in here is stored into this first object. Is this first parameter in our map. The next thing is, if you want to get the latitude, you just say position.lat. If you want to get the longitude, you just say position.long. If you want to get a content, you say position.content. If you want to get title, so you can add as many objects as you want. All right, you can add as many stuff as you want, and you can use the position to grab all of them. And then you can use it to create nice info window with all the contents that you just placed in it. So we have our info windows, we have our markers. The next thing we need to do is we need to make sure we need to get our, cluster maps. That is what we're going to do today. So we just go back to our Google Maps developer API section. So they have this. So this is what we're going to be creating. So we see we have all these maps. When you click on it, it brings you 5 maps. So 2, 2, 1, which is 5. You click on the 2, it brings you 2 markers. That's what we're going to do. So the first thing we need to do is go to HTML section. If you want to come to this page, all you need to do is go to developer.google.com/maps -documentation. All right, so let's just say -maps, and then let's just run it. It's going to take you to this page. You click on read the docs. It brings you to the documentation. The next thing you need to do is you click on maps JavaScript. So let's look for the JavaScript. So let's go top. So we have the map SDK JavaScript. You click on it. You come here. You click on samples. Once you click on samples, it brings you to this page. So what we want is marker clustering. So what we're going to do is, let's say, clustering. So let's just search. We'll just make it simple. So marker clustering. Good. You select the first result that comes up. And then we have our marker clustering. Good. So once we have our marker clustering, the first thing we need to do is we need to get to the HTML. We need this script to make sure it works. So we grab the script, we come back to our code, we come to our index.html, and then this is our maps. This is what we've been doing. So all we need to do is we need to add our scripts. So already we have Bootstrap, we have Google Maps API, we have Axios, and we have our custom map. The next thing we need to do is we need to add the polyfill. So once we add our polyfill, the next thing we want to do is go back and go to our JavaScript. The next thing we need to do is we just need to grab one last thing. All we need to do is grab new marker cluster. So when we come here, we come to our code, we come back to our map.js file. Once we look through our markers, the next thing we need to do is just come out of our markers, and then we just say new marker cluster, markers, and map. So the markers is the markers that is having the allmark.map. We just grab it, we paste it. So this is going to take these markers, and this is going to be the map that is going to be working with. So let's save this. Let's go back to our page, go back to our Google Maps. Let's run the code. All right, so we have our maps. So let's zoom out. So let's start zooming out. So let's zoom out. Zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. Okay, so it's not working right now, so we need to know what is going on. So let's just inspect, and let's clear the cache for the map. So maybe our old map or our old JS is still running on the background. So let's clear the cache. This is one of the first things that you need to do to debug. Sometimes your JavaScript saves in your browser and it works. So when you update your JavaScript, it still doesn't work. You need to clear your cache and make sure that everything is working. So it's still not working. So we come to our developer console and let's see what is going on. So we have reference error. Marker cluster is not defined. Okay. Marker cluster is not defined. So new marker cluster. The next thing we need to do is let's see something. Let's go back. In order to use marker clusters, we need something first. So let's go back to our HTML. And you see the HTML, we have the version of the map is weekly. So let's see if we have that. Index.html. Okay, we have that. We have the init map. We have this. We have this. We have that. Everything is set. Okay, let's go back to CSS. CSS is working fine. JavaScript, it's working fine. It's working fine. Return marker. New marker cluster. Okay, so let's see. So the marker cluster has to be inside the init map, and everything here is also inside the init map, so we don't have a problem with that. So let's see. Let's grab our marker cluster. Let's go inside here and let's put it down here. Let's see. Okay. All right, so I think there's a bigger problem. So marker cluster is not defined. Okay. New marker cluster. So let's grab that. So what we're going to do is we're not going to use that. We're just going to we're going to create a variable, and we're going to say const cluster is equal to new marker cluster dot marker cluster. So this is how we do it. New marker cluster dot marker cluster. The first one is a small m, the second one is a bigger m. So, and then we do it so that Google is going to use the Google object to be able to identify the marker cluster. If we do it with marker cluster only, it's going to look like it's a function that we created ourselves. So we need to get it from the Google Map instance. So let's refresh our page to see if it's working. Okay, so our maps, our coordinates is working. Let's see if our marker cluster is working. It's still not working, so let's see. Let's grab it and let's put it inside. Let's put it inside here. And let's see, this is for that, okay? Okay, so let's go back to our map. So we have our constant cluster is equal to new marker cluster Marcus map. One thing we need to do is when we look at our constant Marcus, once we have showed all our markers, if we want it to be used by the marker classes, we need to return the markers. So we create a constant marker, we add the position and the coordinate, we add the event listener, and then we return it. Okay. So this is for the event listener, this is for the coordinate, this is for the info window. So once we grab our content, we create an info window, we create the marker, we create the event listener, you return the marker, all right? Once you return the marker, clusters will be able to use the markers that is being returned. The next thing we need to do is we need to add the marker cluster JavaScript to our HTML file. So when we come to our HTML file, let's go to marker clustering, and let's see if we're going to find so let's find the CDN. All right, so the CDN, this is the CDN. So we copy the CDN, we come to our index file below the Google Maps API, and then we paste the clusters. All right, so once we paste our clusters, we come back to our page, let's refresh, and now we don't have the error that marker cluster is not defined, because right now we have added our NPN or CDN and it's working fine. So right now you see we have two We have 2, 2, 2, 2. Once keep zooming out, we have 6, 3. You see, perfect. We have 3, 5, 5. You know, perfect. So we have 42. We have 8, 5. When you click on the 42, it pans to all the 42 records in the database. When you click on this 2, it zooms in to only these 2 coordinates. So that is our marker cluster API. Wow. Thanks again, guys. If you want more content, in the next tutorial we'll be doing we'll be initializing this search. Once you search with any location, it gives you the Google Maps Place API. It shows you all the locations. It takes you to that location by default. Like once you select any location, it takes you there. And then we're going to be adding buttons to be switching between 3D and 2D. So we're switching between 3D and 2D. We'll be able to move the map around. So right now we have our 3D buildings. Right now we have our 3D buildings. We'll be able to move the map around like this. See how it's moving? We'll be able to do that. So let's scroll in a little bit. So we have this. We'll be able to move from here to a different location to using the search bar and a whole lot. So kindly subscribe, like the video, comment with anything you don't understand, and we'll get back to it. Thank you.